How I Met Your Father, created by Elizabeth Berger and Isaac Aptaker, ended its first season on March 15th with a second season on its way possibly sometime later this year. And frankly, I'm really glad I defended this show from day one. In all honesty, How I Met Your Father was surprisingly good despite most remakes or spin-offs nowadays being simply for milking a franchise. I'm looking at you, Star Wars sequel trilogy. The show definitely got better over the episodes, and of course it did feel like the writers were throwing everything into the wall to see which idea sticks, but as lazy as it is, it's an effective way of finding a clearer path for the writers to take on the story, which will become even more solidified in season 2 and future seasons to come. Some of the best parts of the season were the development of the character dynamics between some of the main casts.
By the way, I noticed how crisp your upper walls look. Is it white dove? Yeah, it is.
Some cleverly set up jokes, such as the Slim Shady one,
Slim Shady? Please stand up.
and the intriguing story roadmap that the writers set up from the very beginning.
That's the night I met your father.
Therefore, in this video, I will describe some story ideas and directions that I wish for the second season. First of all, let's discuss future cameos. Season 1 of How I Met Your Father ended with an absolute blast with the return of Robin Scherbatsky, thus opening the future possibilities of other gang members returning.
Hear that, Carl? She's a fan. I have fans.
Which member it is to return is of course up to speculation, but after the side story between Charlie and Valentina unfolded, I now have some sort of a speculation on how a specific character from the original show can return.
You really don't think you'll change your mind?
I think so. You?
I don't think so.
Let's just say that, for example, Charlie and Valentina relapse in season 2 and choose to ignore the elephant in the room. Charlie does not want kids, while Valentina does. Perhaps Charlie storms out of Valentina's house to get some fresh air and goes up to the rooftop of the Worldwide News building where he starts freaking out. There he finds a blonde man in a hoodie sitting on a bench who asks Charlie if he's okay. The man introduces himself to Charlie, revealing none other than Barney Stinson himself. Charlie recognizes the name because he used to read Barney's blog back in college and was a huge fan back then. Then he realizes that Barney is holding his daughter in his arms. This is where Barney could help Charlie by telling him how back then he did whatever it is possible to avoid having kids, but once he found his lifelong treasure, all of that fear just dissipated and he realized what was really important: compassion, human empathy. Then maybe Barney can laugh and say something about how he's sounding a lot like his friend. This could really help show the change in Barney post How I Met Your Mother in a more organic way and respect the ending of the show. Meanwhile, this could also propel Charlie's character to go through some kind of change, even if not immediate. He could start thinking about it and gradually accept the flaws in his mother as she was raising Charlie and decide to have children. Another thing is about Ian. A big question all of us have right now is what type of role Ian is going to play in Sophie's journey. Is he going to be the Victoria of the story, or is he actually going to be the father? The fact is, Ian hasn't been extremely characterized so far, and from the ending of season 1, we can sort of assume that he will have a much larger role in the following season, perhaps going deeper into the character. My only wish for the direction that the writers take for Ian, however, is to mainly be the voice of reason. One of my biggest complaints for the main characters of How I Met Your Father is that there's no proper voice of reason. My initial reaction when Sophie cheated on Drew with Jesse...
Look, I know you're probably emotional from what happened with Drew, so...
No, that's not what that was. I wanted to kiss you.
What the fuck? Then I waited a week for the subsequent episode, expecting at least one of the gang members to criticize Sophia for cheating on someone, but everyone in the main cast were completely nonchalant about it, and were only fervent about the fact that Jesse and Sophia were happening.
Who do you guys think went in for the kiss first?
Sophie, right? My girl is a modern woman. She sees what she wants and she goes for it.
There's no way my guy didn't go in for that kiss first, okay? His lean game is strong.
I mean, yeah, it was semi-addressed by Hannah, but it was resolved way too easily with her stating that she was overreacting about it. And trust me, I've had a couple of friends who got cheated on and it was an absolute hell for all of them. Thus, it is not overreacting at all. Also, the fact that Sophie didn't even come clean to Drew either is just baffling to me. I want this fact to be slipped to Ian, possibly by one of the main gang members, and for Sophie to face some proper consequences this time. Maybe he could start having doubts, thinking that Sophie might do the same to him, or maybe he could even tell Sophie to come clean to Drew, at least to make things right. We need a proper voice of reason, like how Lily was for Ted in How I Met Your Mother whenever she warned Ted against all of his fuck-ups.
Why not just say goodbye to the bad things? Say goodbye to all the times you felt lost. To all the times it was a no instead of a yes.
If this fact isn't properly resolved by the following season, I'm gonna be honest, it'll remain an itch for me forever for the rest of the series' run. Lastly, I just really want more from Ellen. My personal opinion is that Ellen is the weakest character of the show so far. We only know her mannerisms and her relations to Jesse and Charlie, and besides that, we know nothing else.
So, I moved to New York to start over, reconnect with my brother, and ask out Kate McKinnon.
Whoa! Do you know Kate McKinnon?
No. Do you?
Now with her working for Goliath, perhaps she can start facing hardships with her newly fabricated relationship with Rachel, where she has to balance two things at once. The best way to get to know a character to their personal level is to strip them away from the comfort zone. Ellen is clearly a socially awkward person who keeps on trying to be extroverted. With her being so much under pressure, it gives more opportunity for her to have some intimate conversations with others that will feel more organic, which can help reveal a lot more about her character. More personal connections with characters other than Jesse and Charlie can blossom. For example, we never really got a storyline between Ellen and Valentina, Sid, or even Sophie. This can help a better unification between the gang members and make them feel more like a family.
Now we're talking. All right, listen, what are we gonna do?
Therefore, I feel like Season 2 has a lot of room for growth. With having twice as many episodes as Season 1, there are so many different storylines that can help the show prosper. As long as they keep the parts of the show that did work in the first season and get rid of the aspects that didn't work, Season 2 could possibly be twice as good as the first season.